Greetings to viewers out there. You're welcome to this episode of the Insight Cast, where we empower minds to influence the futures. As usual, our Insight Caster, David. I will start with something. On 23rd of this month, some citizens are planning to march in this disgruntlement of corruption that has been at the center in the parliament. We saw the police came out to say that citizens should be warned that they are not allowed to do so. They should follow the guidelines to write police to approve that activity. Don't you think that we are really limiting the rights of the citizens?
All of us who are in Uganda, we are citizens. That is what the Constitution says. But sometimes I try to categorize citizens into 2 or 3 or even 4 categories. I think Uganda would be the Uganda everyone would want if every citizen was very active. Every citizen understands his or her role. And those in public offices actually use the law favorably to support the citizens to keep engaging with them. Robert has asked me a question that don't you think we are limiting? We have heard many things from the media, on radios, written in the newspapers, discussed even in drinking joints in trading centers for us who are borders, even when we are waiting for passengers. And many times, for me as a person, as a senior citizen at my age, I like telling Ugandans that when members of parliament are legislating, are making laws, of course by law, what they legislate should improve the livelihood, the lives of Ugandan citizens. And the people in Africa and the world, because we have a contribution to make. But sometimes, because of some interests that are not nationalistic in nature, we get lost. The questions we ask ourselves without finding answers are, who is the police working for? Are you sure police is keeping law and order for Ugandan citizens? Or police has been rented, hired by some people who have other interests? I say the interest should be nationalistic. The interest should be for Ugandans. So if that would be the case, the police would not be intimidating citizens. It's even allowed by law for citizens to peacefully demonstrate. If you look at the act, the Public Order Management Act, sometimes our citizens misinterpret. The law is supposed to be implemented, not to be interpreted. You find people saying if you want to gather, if you want to demonstrate peacefully, you must seek for permission. Is that what the act says?
This is the act, the Public Order Management Act of 2013. An act provide for the regulation of public meetings, to provide for the duties and responsibilities of the police, organizers and participants in relation to public meetings, to prescribe measures for safeguarding public order and for related matters. So if you go to the commencement, the principle of managing order, the underlying principle of managing public order is to regulate the exercise of the freedom to assemble and to demonstrate together with others peacefully and unarmed, to petition in accordance with the Articles 29, 1D, and 43 of the Constitution. But we've seen in many instances, political parties that are not in power, really they use this law to suppress their freedom of assembly, freedom to demonstrate. Do you think this time the young people have seen the letter moving around on social media? They have written to police, it has been received. Do you think that the police will allow young people to demonstrate?
Whether they allow or they don't allow, the law allows young people and any other person to do that. I have always told viewers outside there, issues that affect the common person in Uganda, Ugandans, the bigger number of Ugandans, if they do not understand the magnitude of the effect on their lives, they will be very reluctant to hold those accountable. But once they get to understand how it's affecting them, even the law, when turned upside down, may not limit young people from where, from what and where, what they want to do. So in this case, people who have stolen taxpayers' money and left young people to be struggling and other categories of people, they want to hide behind that law. But so long as these people have understood that the injustice is bigger, and the injustice is not for one individual, the injustice cost is affecting many, and now what these people are planning to do benefits the bigger majority, and it's nationalistic in nature. I think they will gather numbers. Nothing can stop them. Sometimes when you want to sanitize everything, you should not be limited by the outcome of those who are misusing their power over citizens. Those are proverbs. For me, I did not go to a nursery school, but I learned from under mango trees some time back. And there's a way we were taught using those proverbs.
Thank you very much for those insights. And I see the title of the Insight Caster. You really fit in the shoe very well. David.
Yes.
Is corruption expensive? There is an engineer in URA. He was mentioned in corruption cases to a tune of 6 billion, but he gave his property worth 1.2 billion to recover the funds. What is lost is 6 billions. What is recovered is 1.2 billions. And the IG agreed and accepted the property worth 1.2. What is the difference? I think that money would cause a great change if taken to service delivery. Just imagine 4.8 billion taken into schools. It would change something big. So don't you think corruption is expensive? And if it is expensive, are Ugandans really comfortable with the situation? Aren't they angered enough to stand up and hold leaders accountable?
Corruption is very, very, very expensive. And the viewers outside there, you need to take it from me. Of course, the question is general. But I want you who is viewing, listening to us, to agree with me that the negative effects, the negative impact of money stolen is very big. That is the reason why I'm saying it's very, very expensive. Look at West Nile, the roads of West Nile. Look at electricity in West Nile, where only 2-3% of the total population in West Nile are accessing power. Look at the type of education Ugandans are getting. An organization wanting to sponsor 40 girls who could have dropped out of P7, who could have dropped out in P7, but with a PLOE certificate, and they want to take them back to school. And the district failing to raise 40. And you want to view from outside there and think that corruption is not expensive. Then you are part of those who are eating the leftovers of corruption. The other question is the IG herself and the institution clean? Ugandans might be right to say the 4 point something that is not recovered, and they accept the 1 billion something and leave out the 4 point something. that money might be going to someone. And Ugandans, including me, may be right to believe that way. So what does it mean? What does it mean? Ugandans nowadays do not trust their leaders. Ugandans do not trust those institutions. One thing Ugandans have not done very well, but they're moving to that. What is happening on 23rd this month, I would think, is an indication of Ugandans now beginning to take responsibility. I think Ugandans need to pull back that power from those institutions, pull back that power from those corrupt leaders. They put the power together and start to consolidate and use it to push back on those who are corrupt. Of course, I think last week, the other week, as Kenya is busy sanitizing out of the pressure from young people, Uganda is busy glorifying some of the leaders who are corrupt. They are busy using taxpayers' money in Chankwanzi. You get? I would want to think that Uganda would be busy now saying, if it happened like this in Kenya, how do we use that experience to improve? There is no evidence that shows that Chankwanzi has always got positive results in the lives of Ugandans. But we know Chankwanzi is a clinic, is an institution where people's way of thinking is sanitized to start to glorify other people's agenda, not Ugandans.
You see, in Kenya, President, His Excellency Ruto William, sacking all cabinet secretaries, except a few, like the vice president and some secretaries that were left. What do we learn as in Uganda from that?
There are many things that Uganda could learn from Kenya. But I don't think the leadership of this country is interested in learning. That is number one. I don't think they're interested in learning. I have heard recently some of them making comments saying that the context of Kenya is totally different with the context of Uganda. I tell them that the context might be different, but the similarity is the same. In Kenya, the bigger population in Kenya is young people who do not even have land. Because I'm told in Kenya there are 2-3 families who own 3/4 of that land. So the rest of Kenyans who say we are Kenyans are actually Kenyans by name. In Uganda, the biggest category of people we have are young people. Young people, and many times numbers are even skyrocketed because of some interest. So that is the similarity, first of all. That would force Uganda to learn from Kenya. The other thing is the where some people ran to the bush some 30, 40 years ago and fought with many Ugandans and captured the power, I think did not happen in Kenya. But also, even if it happened in Uganda, it may not happen again in Uganda because we have moved on. Now, you being in a prison does not mean that you should be putting on yellow alone, a yellow jersey. You might be in prison even when you are in an office where you are not able to make informed decisions. That is a prison. I want, in my personal comments, to think some of the people who are seated there as cabinet ministers, some of them, number one, do not know what they are supposed to do. Even when they are willing to do what they are supposed to do, they are forced to do what someone would like to do. 3, where they are is used as a prison for them not to start to think outside the box and provide solutions to issues that are affecting Uganda. The issues that are affecting Ugandans and they are not attended to are the issues that are helping 1, 2, 3, 4 people to stay in those positions for quite long. So that extravagancy, they do not feel it. They don't feel the pain because that is purely taxpayers' money. And when it comes to the taxpayer, we have been deceived that we are not paying taxes. There are people in my village there who think They don't pay taxes. And yet everything is a tax. Even when for us to come to this studio, we are paid taxes. You know, in Uganda, they put a lot of taxes in for you to buy data. And some Ugandans are not able to buy data. Some Ugandans are denied access to this. Uganda, we are still struggling for first generational rights. First, second, and third. Developed countries where Uganda would be peeping to move to are struggling for the fourth generational rights. Which generational rights would propel us to development?
In this fight against corruption, we see the president mentions that he's committed and is going to crush the corrupt people. And in one of his moves, we see president has been creating institutions. Yet even by the constitution, there are institutions that are established by the acts of the parliament. We have the IG. We have the Office of the Auditor General. We have the Parliament itself. We have the security organs. But every time, from IG, he creates State House Anti-Corruption Unit. From the Anti-Corruption Unit, the recent one, that the Anti-Corruption Unit, specifically for URA, aren't our institutions capable of carrying out their roles as mandated by the laws we have in the country, the laws of the land to fight, or they are incapable?
The challenges we are struggling with in Uganda are system created. And to turn them the other way around, upside down, the institutions we have the capacity to do that. So what does it mean? Like you have said, we have very many of these institutions, very many. The challenges they are struggling with, there is what I call the lack of a national will to fix these issues. That is number one. Number two, some of these institutions are created without adequate facilitation. Some of them do not have adequate facilitation. Number three, when you find strangers fighting on the road and you want to pass, you want to go and separate them. When you go to separate them, they might be using that fight to fulfill certain things. As the president keeps on being rhetoric, saying, I am committed, I am this for 10 years, 30 years, soon 40 years, and you are a serious Ugandan citizen and you believe in that, you might be deceiving yourself. So for me, from where I sit, for you to make promises that are fulfilled, then we are supposed to see that from your actions, sustainable actions. I am told the gentleman whom they gave to lead the recently created institution had the issues. He had issues affecting him under corruption. And the president is happy to say, I am starting to use a thief. I will be using thieves to arrest thieves. Don't you think you are encouraging every Ugandan first to become a thief so that they can be used to arrest the thieves? You get? I think there are people with a very high moral rigor, very high moral backgrounds, from civil society, from public servants who are teachers or what, who could be in such positions, in such institutions, that they would rally support and the problem is fixed. So didn't you hear some people saying
you support the co-creation of more
I do not support the creation of more institutions. I do not support that. I am saying the president should put in a nationalistic will. I would even be saying, if it would be allowed, I know the law does not allow, it would be important for those who are arrested, who are caught stealing, it would be good to execute them. Kill them in a public whatever, gather people and say, this is the person, so long as someone has made a loss of a certain amount of public money, let's say 10 billion or 5 billion, you should be killed. I would want such things to happen. But I call upon Ugandans. the people we have been having hope in seem not to be taking you to where you want. So what does it mean? It doesn't require you to become a president for you to start to fight corruption. This thing the president is dodging, the so-called the lifestyle audit, that campaign, is the best. I think those Kenyans to some extent are practicing it. You have seen it happening.
Yeah.
Ruto even passed somewhere and people who are making noise saying, "A thief! A thief!" In Uganda, if you do that, they're going to arrest you for hate speech, but they cannot manage to arrest everyone.
Disturbing the peace of the president.
Disturbing the peace of the president, but the president needs to know his position is temporal. Even when you are there for 100 years, it's temporal. So I think what is permanent would be being humble. Being humble, share the learnings, what you have, and learn from people, provide accountability, fix some of the things and keep progressing. Let there be evidence of what you have done because you are in a public office.
As we end this show, we put again a disclaimer that views expressed in recording are entirely for the individuals. We don't represent any organization or any group of people. Corruption has been a song, I think even before I was born. It's one of the reasons that even the president had to go to the bush. And in the 10-point program of NRM, there was also an entire point on fighting corruption, but also government expenditure. It has been a song. What could be the lasting solution to corruption?
Very difficult question to answer, but like you are saying, corruption has been there from the time maybe this earth was created. We should not use that to run away from responsibility and start to think that it's not possible to fix these issues of corruption. The viewers outside there, they know. The people who are running this country are like seated in a pyramid. Up there on top of the pyramid is where the president sits and his cabinet. And there are very few. The middle class people somewhere in the middle, if you divide that pyramid or the triangle into four, the second part from up there are people who have what it takes even to change the narrative, but are not doing a lot. The third level is where many of us now fall in, but many people without actions. Then the broader base is where Ugandans are seated on a burning frying pan with the high taxes, everything. Now, for us to provide a lasting solutions to corruption, we want to overturn that triangle, that pyramid, the other way around. Ugandans need to find a way of placing themselves up. That base should be up there. To the extent that when you make a comment, when Ugandans say, this tax you are introducing is not going to make us progressive, people who are in government should be able to take that and implement the way Ugandans want. Even when it comes to elections, I know sometimes there are politicians who are occupying those positions. The voters did not even vote for them, but they found themselves there. It's possible for Ugandans to minimize such occurrences, but that is if they have overturned the pyramid, the triangle upside down, and they take responsibility to do certain things. Even coming to this studio, it would be very nice for many Ugandans to have this kind of studios, platforms where they engage with those who are abusing their power. It would be important for Ugandans to push back. I have been part of some of the engagements and including some of those peaceful demonstrations. Then you find police officers actually telling you, next time you mobilize big numbers, we are with you. But because they're in a prison, in quotes, the law tells them to do certain things, but someone is using them. And if someone is using you, you have a family. You need to tactfully see how to run away from being for you to being used. Because if you mismanage, then you live to regret. So I am very sure we can be able to provide that a lasting solution. The other thing, Uganda is not living in isolation. I know other countries are also corrupt. But there are countries that are doing very, very, very well. And many times we like looking at ourselves like we are the worst. These people who like saying we are the third developed countries. Well, it's good to look at it from a positive perspective. But when you look at it negatively, it's like you are pulling down your efforts. In Denmark, when someone does not pay a tax, or is missed out in that process, I'm told they cry. I am told they start to look for people in government and say, I did not pay this tax, I want to pay, because service delivery is very good in their country. Here in Uganda, everything looks to be dead.
One thing that I note that the power to change the narrative is in the people. And all Ugandans, as we end, I will quote this one, is from the Constitution, chapter 1. All power belongs to the people, who shall exercise their sovereignty in accordance with the Constitution. So without limiting the effect of clause 1 of this article, all authority in the state emanates from the people of Uganda, and the people shall be governed through their will and consent. So it is our role. If we keep quiet, it means we are being part of the problem. So you need to realize the power within you and act accordingly. Thank you very much for joining us in this show. Subscribe, like, and share our content. It's the only way you can give back to us and motivate us to always do like this. Thank you very much. David, thank you very much for joining us today. I remain Robert Asimwe, the host at the Insight Cast, where we empower minds and impact the futures. Thank you very much. See you.